Welcome back to the Sibling Group Chat. I'm Owen.
And I'm Cassidy.
Today we're back at it with the Odyssey Review, episode 36, Return to the Bible Room.
Yes, this is episode 41 of Adventures in Odyssey, and it originally aired on August 27th, 1988. It's part of Album 2, The Wildest Summer Ever. And in this episode, Jack Davis and Lucy Cunningham meet the biblical Jonah before finding themselves on a ship in a storm and then in the belly of a great fish. And our themes are obedience, biblical history, and Jonah.
This is essentially what this is pre-Imagination Station adventures.
Yeah, it is. And I always forget about this episode that it exists because I often didn't listen to it because it's on the CD after The Case of the Secret Room. So it still feels like a relatively new episode to me, even though I have listened to it several
Yeah,
times.
I believe that this is the second or third time I've heard it, I think, that I remember anyway. I'm sure I heard it other times, but...
Yeah. So, in air date order, this is our second Jack and Lucy episode.
Yes.
So that's fun.
Jack
and our
and Lucy are
second
back.
Imagination Station prototype.
Are they our first recurring kids that we've had?
I think so.
Because we haven't had a second
Jimmy-
Markley episode
yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I think they are. Look at them.
Congratulations, Jack and Lucy, being the first kids to get 2 episodes.
Yep.
It's impressive.
At this point, yeah.
So yeah, just getting into it. We find ourselves at wit's end. Lucy is looking for Jack. Chris's intro essentially says that people wonder why Lucy and Jack are friends because Jack gets Lucy into trouble.
I just thought that was really funny because as listeners, we've only heard from them once before.
Uh huh.
And so it's just like, we don't know why they're friends. But here's another episode.
I feel
with
like
them.
Jack ends up with other people fairly quickly, and not like I don't know that he interacts with Lucy much more after these first 2. Maybe a couple
Yeah.
other times, but
He might not. Because, yeah, he ends up pairing more with Oscar and Robin. But it makes sense early on that they
Yeah.
were right away because in real life, they are friends. Or were friends, are now married. So.
I think they're a little more than friends.
Yeah. But it makes sense that they were coming in and recording at the same time together back then. So. But yeah, Lucy ends up pairing with other boys across time. Part of that, too, I think, well, right away, obviously, his voice hasn't changed yet, but eventually Jack's voice changes and he disappears for a while. So
That's true, yeah.
that's why Lucy was getting paired with other kids. But, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so Lucy's looking for Jack, and Jack is in the Bible room looking around. We find out it's partially because Jack is stalling because they're supposed to be going to church cleanup day. But also partly, I do think there is some genuine curiosity of Jack in the Bible room. Like, I don't think he's spent much time in there, so I think he is actually somewhat genuinely curious about the stuff in there.
He is curious, but I don't think he would be genuinely curious if he wasn't procrastinating going to church
True.
cleanup day.
You know, procrastination can make you curious about lots of things.
Yeah, it's true. The number of things you've never wondered before until you're supposed to be doing something.
Exactly, you know?
Yeah, this is also the second Bible room episode, isn't it? Has the Bible room? Well, that's true, but it hasn't been around.
The only other one was it was either an Officer Harley or a Lost episode as well, because
I think that's an Officer Harley.
because
It's like the prank one with Kurt is what it kind of ended up as. Except,
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Philo.
I know for us a little bit, and maybe if anybody who would have only listened on CD, you might have been slightly confused by this episode. It was called Return because you wouldn't have heard the first episode with the Bible room in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, since it's the lost episode, the title doesn't make much sense. I think the Bible room gets referenced in the day Independence came because that's where the book is that Erwin's going to get.
I think so, yeah.
But that's not enough of a reference to make this a return. So it is an odd title if you don't have that lost episode as context.
Right. So, yeah, Jack is in there. He's looking at all the different displays. And Lucy's telling him that they need to be going because they're supposed to be somewhere else. And then Mr. Whitaker comes. And honestly, what he says is a little strange. He's like, oh, I thought I might find some people up here or something. Like, was he just, like, looking for people in Wits End? Like, was there not very many people there? Or, like, I don't know. The way he said it was just weird.
What I think is weird is that so after Mr. Whitaker comes in, Jack like kind of starts asking him about some of the displays that he can't figure out. And the first one is this suit of armor, and Whit's like, well, what do you think it is? And Jack's like, We learned about it in church last Sunday, but he doesn't even know what it is. So
Well,
why
it's
is he
because,
saying
well,
that?
the first thing he says is something about David, so he's obviously thinking of something else.
Yeah, well, regardless of what he is thinking of, do you really think he learned about something to do with armor last Sunday, or that's just him trying to be like, oh yeah, I know this?
I mean, they could have. We don't know. We don't get the bulletin from Odyssey Church.
I suppose. I suppose that's true. I don't know. It strikes me as a funny line.
I guess, yeah. So yeah, the suit of armor, which is for the armor of God, is the first thing Jack asks about. Then there's the mirror, which is like the talking mirror of Bible verses. It's mentioned a couple other times.
It's kind of like
Honestly, I kind of enjoyed this.
a concordance.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed this little opening because it gives us a little bit of information about what's in the Bible room at the time. Similar to I think the first episode with the Bible room,
Yeah.
we hear some other stuff going on in that one. The Wall of Jericho is mentioned. Which says he's working on the Ark, which I know later is mentioned as being in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you forget about all the stuff that's in here later on because it just kind of becomes the room the imagination station is in.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, there is all this other stuff in there, which is pretty cool.
And then the thing that gets pretty much the episode going is Jack asks about the big fish, which is of course for Jonah. And either Jack or Lucy, I don't know, asks, they thought it was a whale. And Whit's like, well, the Bible doesn't say. Which, while funny at times, the joke of whether it was a fish or a whale is way overdone in this episode. I'm sorry.
Well, it's overdone in this episode, and I feel like in general it's overdone. Like, we're always like, it's a big fish. It's not a whale. It's a big fish. Which
Yeah.
is true, but yeah, it does get overdone in the episode, I will say.
It's not like it really matters that much either what it was.
No.
Like, maybe it was a whale.
Maybe it was. I mean, at the time, did they have them classified between fish and mammals?
I would say probably not. But
Had
it
anyone
wasn't there.
in the Bible watched a whale give birth to know that it's not a fish?
Did scuba diving exist at the time of the prophets?
Yeah, and obviously God gives them what they wrote,
Yes.
but still, it could have been a whale.
But anyway, Jack wants to know more about Jonah. Again, more so stalling than anything because I feel like they've got to know the story of Jonah. And I feel like they even say they know some of
Well,
it.
Lucy says she knows the whole thing. Jack is more like, I kind of know it. Not really, though.
And I think that's more
again, stalling.
procrastination than anything.
Yeah.
I don't think he's as clueless as he lets on. But so he says he wants to hear the story, and Lucy says, "Sure, I'll tell it to you on the way to the church." And Jack's like, "No. I want to hear it from Mr. Whitaker." And I think it's funny. He almost gets to the point where he's just like, "Lucy, shut up. Sit down.
Kind of, yeah.
Take a seat."
We're listening to this. And why Lucy just doesn't leave and go to the church by herself is a little confusing, but also is Lucy. And at this point in time, the scared part of Lucy is really her main character trait. So I guess she doesn't want to walk to the church by herself.
Something. I don't know.
She has a lot of growth as she matures.
Yes. And I think a little bit of it is I'm pretty sure she was supposed to be at church with Jack.
With
Like,
Jack.
she was supposed to be with Jack.
Yeah, but you would think, as goody two-shoes as she is, that she would just leave him and let him get in trouble by himself. But
Maybe. I don't know.
But she also, I guess, wants to hear the story of Jonah. So
Yes. So Mr. Whitaker tells them he doesn't just want to tell them the story. He wants them to close their eyes and imagine. Because the imagination can let you experience things that you don't hear when you're just told the story.
that's true. So I literally was thinking of this. I was like, okay, so Imagination Station prototype number 1, concussion. Prototype number 2, close your
Close
eyes
your
and concentrate really hard.
And then we haven't got there yet, but the prototype number 3 is like audio, basically.
Yeah, it's like the environment enhancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a progression. At least I'm glad they moved off of concussion because
Yeah.
that
Glad they realized that one shouldn't stay.
you look like you could use an adventure. Wow.
Maybe it's the Bible room itself. Because all of this is happening in the Bible room.
Could be. Yes, they get into it, and Mr. Whitaker starts telling them a story, and Jack and Lucy suddenly find themselves on the ship together. So they're closing their eyes and imagining while also having a conversation with each other in their imagination. Like, that's some top tier imagination right there.
Well, it's because wit is guiding their imaginations. They're being told the story all at once.
I know. I just think
Yeah.
it's funny, but
Yeah.
it's for the purpose of the story. But I even in my notes I was like, that's some imagination.
Hey, kids in Odyssey have great imagination.
It's true. They're on the ship, and they join the story during the storm. So I think Mr. Whitaker might have introed that Jonah was running away from God before they get there.
Yeah.
But they're in on the ship in the storm, and a crew member finds them. Is like stowaways, takes them up deck. Well, they're trying to figure out what to do because they're in this massive storm. And they're trying to figure out they're gonna chuck the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. And I put it right here, and it's maybe a really odd time, but it's just when it came to my mind. So I can just ask you this now, and we could get back into it at the end. But this is when it came to me. It's like, do you prefer the Odyssey or Down Gilead Lane telling of the story of Jonah?
I
I
don't
would say
know.
I just wrote it down because it popped into my head at that moment. We don't have to discuss it now. We can
Yeah.
discuss it later.
I think this one sticks in my head more. Right? Probably
No,
because
see,
it's
for
been
me,
a long time. It's been a long time since I listened to Down Gilead Lane one, but for me, the only thing I think of with that one is actually no more of it is coming to my mind. But the
you
main
say
thing I think of
in
is
my mind, the voice of
Marquise.
Jonah is
Right?
Mr.
So like,
Richter.
yeah. For me, no. I think this one comes to mind more right now, but that's because I don't remember the last time I listened to
Yeah.
the Down Gilead Lane
That's
one.
fair. I was just thinking of like no, Jonah in my mind is voiced by Mr. Richter from Down Gilead Lane.
Yeah. That is a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grace and Hope's Bible stories, there's honestly not enough of them.
There should be more.
Should be more Bible stories with Grace and Hope.
Yep. Comment below if you have any Down Gilead Lane thoughts related to this episode or unrelated. We love Down Gilead Lane as well.
One day we'll get to reviewing it. So,
Someday.
someday.
Anyway, back into the Odyssey episode. So the crew one of them suggests they just throw Jack and Lucy overboard, which I've always wondered, both in this and in Imagination Station later, how much does your imagination let you control the story? Like, if in the story a crew member, like, you imagine them throwing you overboard, can you imagine yourself back onto the ship?
I think you're overthinking it.
I know, but I've always
Are there-
wondered how it works.
I don't.
Like,
Yeah, if
not
you
not
think
quite
about
like
how-
that, but like, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I think the imagination controlling the story only works to a certain extent, and I don't think we could ever fully understand that question unless we heard multiple kids go on the same adventure, which I've
That's
honestly
true.
kind of wanted to hear. Like, what's
Yeah.
it like if Lucy goes on an imagination adventure, and then Kurt goes on the same one, and Jimmy goes on the same one, and Lawrence goes on the same one? How is it different for each of them?
Yeah.
I
That's a
want-
fair question.
These are things I want to know.
Yeah, like how does your imagination affect your adventure?
Yeah. How much of it is imagination and how much of it is the machine?
But in this case, it's literally just imagination.
True.
But so the crew members decide that they can't just throw people overboard. They need to cast lots. to
Well,
figure out-
actually, they asked. Jack is like, Lucy convinced them that they shouldn't throw us overboard. She's like,
Because it wouldn't be
very
nice. Good going, Lucy.
Yeah, is,
But
it,
yeah.
is that at this point that the captain says, I am the captain of this ship and I will decide if anyone gets thrown overboard or not?
Yeah, something like that.
This-
And at
that
some point in
line-
there, they find Jonah asleep. I can't remember when that is. I didn't write that in there, but Jonah has
Yeah.
been found before they
Yeah.
cast lots.
But that line of the captain sticks in my head because there's a bonus feature that goes through all the different Bible characters that Walker Edmondson did. And that's the line from this episode that's in there. There's another line later that I'll mention, but that line just really sticks in my head because of that bonus feature.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even remember noticing that it was him.
Well, actually, while we're on the topic of voices, I noticed throughout the whole ship scene that the only voices besides Jack and Lucy are Hal Smith, Walker Edmondson, and Will Ryan.
Well, see, I'm not surprised by that. I just didn't differentiate.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't
Well,
really paying attention to voices.
I noticed it while listening, and then I was reading the guide right before we started recording to check for any fun facts. And it says that in there that they just recorded the three of them doing different lines. They did different takes, and then they layered them on top of each other. And
It's
I
kind of fun.
think the only other voice to come in at all in the episode is Chuck Bolte is the voice of somebody in Nineveh. I don't remember who,
No.
but
Is Will Ryan the voice of Jonah?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, they find Jonah. They all decide they're going to cast lots. The lot falls on Jonah.
And Jack
Wait.
says, "I knew it all along."
Well, when they start casting lots, Jack goes, "Who's the winner?" or something like that.
Yeah. And the winner is.
Oh yeah.
I knew it all along. Which Lucy does not find at all amusing. It's like, come on,
No.
Lucy, have a sense of humor.
Yeah. So basically, Jonah has to explain himself, and he basically says, "I'm running away from God. I serve the God of the Hebrews," and they're all like, "Dude, you're an idiot. What are you doing?"
Yeah. Like, that god is the most powerful one we know of. Yes,
But
we don't
the captain still doesn't want to throw anybody overboard, so they try to row back to land. They don't get anywhere. So then they finally take Jonah's advice that the only way to survive the storm is if they throw him overboard. Mm-hmm. So they do, and then Jack and Lucy disappear from the ship.
Do you feel like they just disappear, like they're teleported from ship to big fish, or do
Yes.
they also fall overboard?
Well, see, I did wonder that a little bit because the crew members are like, they were on deck and then we came back below and they're not here anymore. They must have got swept overboard. But then the way Jack and Lucy describe it, it's almost like they teleported.
Yeah.
I think it's more of like a story move. Because then they even say, they're like, how'd we end up in the fish? And Jack's like, this is a story. We go wherever the storyteller wants us to go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's probably more of a teleport.
Yeah. So they're
And then
in the fish with Jonah, and they're talking
Arguing.
about being in the fish and arguing about it. And then Jonah's like, can you be quiet? I want to go. I want to think. And then I don't remember if it's quite right there, but he says a little bit later, like, why don't you go kids play in some other fish?
yeah, it's like you'd think you in the belly of a fish you'd get some peace and quiet.
Yeah. And then I'd say the whole fish conversation is where Jonah delivers the lesson of his own story, basically. Is that you can't run from God because God always sees you. But he's also giving Jack and Lucy their lesson from his story, which is basically like, just because it's not God, like the voice of God literally telling you to do something, doesn't mean you're not disobeying God or running away from God. And he gives the example specific to Jack specifically, but also Lucy a little bit, that if your parents tell you to do something and you don't do it, you're disobeying them, but you're also disobeying God because God has told us to obey our parents.
Yeah. I think it's really funny throughout this. This is something that wouldn't work in an Imagination Station adventure. That Lucy tells both Jonah and the King of Nineveh that they're supposed to be a church cleanup day.
Yeah.
And they don't question it. They're just like, yep, you should have gone. This wouldn't have happened. That doesn't work in the Imagination Station. But Lucy is bound and determined to let everyone know we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be a church cleanup day.
Well, I think when we get to Nineveh, the king of Nineveh was just confused to begin with, and he was just like,
Yeah.
go to church cleanup day. I don't care.
Yeah. But it is just funny that nobody questions it.
Yeah.
Which it would get questioned, I feel like, later in the Imagination
For
Station.
sure, yeah. So Jack does realize in there that he should have gone to church cleanup day. Jonah has some funny comments throughout the conversation. The go play in some other fish is the only one that comes to mind, but I know he had a couple other ones.
Yeah. Well, and there's one time he says something like, I should have listened to God. And Jack's like, and I should have listened to my parents. And Lucy's like, and I should never listen to Jack again.
Yeah.
There are some other funny lines. I don't remember them all,
Yeah.
though.
And then this is where I had in my notes that the big fish to whale joke is undone, because I feel like every character is just like every other sentence, it's alternating what word they use, and so they get corrected.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's overdone.
Yeah, I agree.
But the next place they find themselves teleported to is the palace in Nineveh.
Which is
And
where we get another Walker Edmondson line that sticks in my head from that bonus feature. He goes, "These two strange-looking and smelly little children are spies."
Yes, there is that line because they are brought to the king because they were wandering around in the king's palace, which I think is funny because the story wouldn't have taken them to wandering around. I feel like so it's like Mr. Whitaker took them there, storytelling wise, before Jonah got there, basically.
Yeah,
So in their imagination, they're just wandering around, waiting for Jonah to show up in their imagination.
yeah,
Can you hear that?
yeah. What is that?
Somebody in the hallway playing music overly loud.
That's college for you.
Yeah.
You ever have people just randomly running down the halls?
Not that I've run into, but I'm sure
Oh.
it happens.
That happens in girls' dorms sometimes. You just have people running down the halls.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but
Anyway, the Palace of Nineveh.
Jonah shows up. Well, no, before Jonah shows up, the king is saying that they should just send the two kids to the dungeon. His brother-in-law shows up randomly, I think, at this point, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like the third or fourth episode in a row where they just bring in this character who kind of a nerdy voice just for the fun of it.
It's me, Magnon, your brother-in-law.
But it's the brother-in-law, right, who says that they can't send him to the dungeon?
No, he comes in and says, "There's a man crying in the streets."
Oh yeah, okay. So no, before that, the like palace guard or something says they can't throw them in the dungeon because there'd be a revolt because they still smell like fish.
Yeah. Yeah, they keep bringing up the fact that the kids really smell bad, like fish.
Yeah. And then the brother-in-law says that there's a man crying in the streets, and the king replies, "Give him a hanky and tell him to go home."
No, I don't mean he's crying. I mean he's yelling.
And then Jonah apparently was following brother-in-law from the streets because he comes in immediately and delivers his message. Mm-hmm. That the people of Nineveh need to turn away from their evil or be destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah. And then I think basically Jack and Lucy leave the story right there. They're back to the Bible room.
Pretty much. And Whit finishes the story, but you should know the story, so I don't know that we need to tell the whole story.
Basically, it's just Jonah gets mad because God doesn't destroy the city, and he also gets mad because of the vine. And the story ends with basically God saying you should care more about the people than your vine that just died that you didn't even have anything to do with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about all for the story, I guess. Jack and Lucy learned their lesson that they should follow instructions both from their parents and also God, which are connected to each other.
Mm-hmm. And it's at this point, just continuity-wise, if we're remembering that Mr. Whitaker is telling the story, Mr. Whitaker heard Lucy tell Jonah and the king of Nineveh about church cleanup day, and only here at the end does he tell them, "Oh, church cleanup day got postponed."
Well, I think the whole reason he was even willing to tell them the story is because he already knew that.
But had they actually told him yet, though, that that's where they were supposed to be?
Well, I think he either overheard or understood from Lucy trying to tell Jack that they needed to leave.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose.
I think he already knew, and I think that's why he didn't say anything, because he wanted them to learn their lesson from the story of Jonah before he told them church cleanup day has been postponed until next week, so they get a second chance like Jonah did after he was swallowed by the fish.
That makes sense. That's a very Mr. Whitaker thing of him to do.
Yes. And then Whit asked them what they're going to do with the rest of their day since they don't have church cleanup day, and they said they don't know, and Whit he says he was thinking about going to do some fishing, with Jack is fully on board with.
Yeah.
And Lucy's like, absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah. Lucy's just a bit of a wimp here in the beginning, which I don't feel like continues.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, she for sure is in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about it. Chris outros, but it either wasn't memorable or I wasn't paying attention because I don't know what she said.
I didn't write anything down. I know she said, I wouldn't want to go fishing either. And then she probably just reiterated the whole idea of obedience.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I guess that about does it. After last week's marathon of an episode, we're keeping it pretty brief with this one.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it. It's fun to be back in the Bible room. Fun to have some recurring kids now, not only recurring adults and Connie. I don't know if Connie's really an adult, but she's not a kid, so teenager, I guess.
She's a teenager, yeah.
But recurring kids at wit's end, and any final thoughts?
No, not really. It's just a good classic run-of-the-mill episode.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing special, but not bad.
Yeah. And I'd say, like, I don't know that there's really anything else to say. I mean, it's just fun. It's good. It's in the progression of getting to the imagination station, but they haven't come up either. They really hadn't come up with the imagination station yet. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fun time. We get to learn a little bit about the Bible Room, and yeah, guess that about does it. Next week we wrap up album 2 with
Yes.
the last great adventure of the summer.
Yes, and before we get to that next week, later this week, we will be airing our bonus episode for November, which is going to be. Are we going to say what it's going to be, or are they just going to find out what it's going to be?
I don't see why we couldn't say what it's going to be.
Okay, it's going to be a Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to say about it, because we
Yeah.
haven't recorded it yet, so we don't know what it's about, other
Exactly.
than that it's about Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yes.
Yeah, and it'll probably come Wednesday or Thursday, because
Yes.
normally they come on Friday, and who wants to listen to our Thanksgiving episode the day after Thanksgiving?
Exactly.
Not us.
And yeah, I guess stay tuned for our bonus episode upload schedule as well, because we're throwing ideas around with our tier lists and bonus episodes and whatnot. It could get a little all over the place. Odyssey review is going to stay consistent. Bonus episodes, we're throwing around some ideas. So stay tuned for those. We hope you enjoy those. Yeah, I wrap this up then.
Yeah, and we'll try to, when we remember, because we kind of record ahead and out of order sometimes, we'll try to remember to tell you in the episode if there's an episode later this week, but sometimes we forget. So just, you never know when a bonus might pop up.
And that's why you follow us on social media, so you can hear from there.
Yes. And also, by the time this episode comes out, we will have been on Apple Podcasts for several weeks, I believe.
Yes.
So if you're
We
listening
got
on
that
Apple
done.
Podcasts, welcome to the sibling group chat.
Exactly. Welcome. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up. Yeah, follow us on Facebook or Instagram to stay updated and just to see some fun clips from different episodes. We thank you for watching. Subscribe wherever you get the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.